That's you. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the City of Burbank Police Commission meeting for February 18, 2026. I would like to call this meeting to order and begin with roll call.
Commissioner Chapman?
Here.
Commissioner Coombs?
Present.
Vice Chair Elman?
Here.
Chair Hakobian?
Here.
Commissioner Hartunian?
Present.
Commissioner McKenna?
Here.
Commissioner Wenzel?
Present.
Now we can move on to the flag salute, and Mr. Chapman.
Would everybody please stand and place your hand on your heart, face the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. At this time, I want to announce the public comment period will begin shortly. For community members here in person, please complete a speaker's card, a yellow card, and hand it to staff. In-person speakers will speak first and have up to 3 minutes. For those wishing to phone in, please call 818-238-3335. Callers will be placed in the queue and will speak after all in-person comments have been received. Now we're going to move on to agenda item C, commission announcements and reporting out by commissioners and ad hoc subcommittees. And we'll start with Narbe.
Nothing to report.
Paul.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've just been in coffee with a cop, and I wanted to say thank you to the officers who put together the e-bike update for the city council. I understand we'll be seeing that, but we've really moved forward on something that we've been talking about for 2 years. Thank you.
I also attended the Coffee with a Cop and was very impressed with the turnout of residents at that event.
I'm going to keep it brief. I want to thank the visitors that we had in the call-ins this evening. It's important that the information that people have questions about gets answered, and it was a good meeting this evening. Thank you.
I totally agree with you. Participated in the homeless count. Very sobering.
Thank you, Ann.
I'm trying to remember when the homeless count happened. It was like before and after, because I was involved in multiple places. So I think it was, I think we did it right before, but then I did another homeless count after as well. So it was a busy month. A little commission adjacent, but tied to the commission is I did a presentation on SB 43 with the City of Lancaster's Police Department, and as a result of that meeting, the manager from that police department is getting in touch with Viviana Garza to talk about how that went, but also to talk, they want to learn about the wellness program that Burbank Police Department has implemented, so I was happy to be able to participate in that. And then also just grateful to be able to participate in the public meeting that was just held prior to this for the military equipment.
Thank you, James. I don't have any community engagement activities to report, but I do want to thank everyone who came in for the military equipment engagement. And with that, we're going to move over to our public comment period. And we do have someone in the audience, Carmen Kruski.
Great.
Did I say that right?
Kruski, yeah.
Come on up.
Thank you.
You have 3 minutes.
Did everyone get their materials already? Okay, great. And there's the clock. Good evening, everyone and fellow citizens behind me. I wanted to draw your attention first off to sign number 1, if the camera can see this one over here. This is, I guess, a chevron sign. So this is about wanting more signs, or some signs, because there are no signs on the street that's by my house. When I heard the fatal crash happen, it was late on the 13th of January, so it was technically the 14th at 1 a.m. roughly. And then I spoke here on the 27th of January. Same kind of pictures here, and I want to make note that you are missing one intentionally. I think it's number 2, perhaps, maybe number 3. The signs that are on these papers that I had printed, I photoshopped onto there as an idea. Also, if you would look at the final page, page number 5, this is a street that I travel on Monday through Friday, coming home from work in the city of LA, on Riverside Drive, where the Tahunga, Tahunga, the 170, I want to say, is, and so heading southbound on Riverside Drive, there's a very similar street that has a curve, and it has all these signs on it, if you'll see on the last page. There's the first one that recommends slowing down to 30 miles an hour, and with a sign saying that there's a turn coming, and then there are incidentally 3 more signs after that. And there aren't even any businesses right there. Now, where I'm asking for the area to be reviewed, which I think it is, because I see one of those machines on the median there on Olive Avenue adjacent to where the crash happened and Warner Brothers. There's one of those monitors on wheels that is watching the speed of people. So that, I think, is new. So I'm hoping that there's already some progress going on here. That would be awesome. I think that the area is a little out of date according to how people are driving these days, very emboldened and reckless and mad and, thinking that they're resilient and can't get hurt in their big SUVs and stuff. So I am just hoping that this area where there are speeding people, and the woman who passed away had 2 green lights, so she didn't need to slow down. She should have, but she didn't. And so, yeah, if it's not being reviewed already, I would ask for it to be reviewed in that area, that maybe there are some signages happening, and also maybe the curb has some reflective paint or something. The red paint there is so chipped away and old. I think that area is really outdated when it comes to signs. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Thank you.
And with no additional in-person comments at this time, do we have any callers?
No calls pending.
Thank you. And with that, we will close the public comment period. And now we'll move on to agenda item E, commission response to public comments. And we'll start with James.
I appreciate you coming in. We had folks that were here in the last meeting, and we've got you here now. This meeting is a whole lot better when we get folks in person. So thank you for that. I think other commissioners are going to talk about this as well. I've got a question. I don't know what the answer is have you by chance reported this in the 311 app?
I downloaded the app,
Okay.
I researched it, but I didn't get on there and do my thing because I probably got frustrated and abandoned it.
Okay. I'm going to let, in your comments, Mike, I'll let you talk about like what we cover versus what other commissions and groups cover, because I appreciate the sign recommendation, but this isn't actually the group that does signs, so I'm sure we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
About this, not right now. I would love to hear about referring you. Also, I'm curious, what the curb, wouldn't red paint on a curb be for no parking? Is that what we're still focusing on here?
This is just a response to the public comment.
Right. And I was curious about
I think you
your
mentioned
about the red
reflective paint.
and the chip.
Reflective paint.
Yeah, we can't
Okay,
have a discussion
all righty.
about it.
I understand, and I would agree. I'm not sure if it's us, but definitely cause for concern.
Mr. Chair, I think, if I may, I would be happy to forward the concerns of the speaker to our Public Works Department, which is the department that would address signage, and it's really not the purview of this commission. I understand, I think you're here because you believe it relates to traffic safety, and the police department certainly has a role in that, but the particular remedy that the speaker is asking for is properly addressed by the Public Works Department, but I'd be happy to forward your concern. If you want to leave your name, and I think we actually have it with the speaker card, I'd be happy to forward that on to our Public Works Director.
Wonderful. Paul?
If I may add just additional comment to that, I was present in the chamber when you came up and presented. And thank you for your question, and also thank you for your concern. We've received a lot of concerns from the community, specifically around that corridor and the surrounding area. And we've responded, council is aware, as far as our response. We are coordinating, collaborating with our Public Works Director, our Community Development Director, in doing a really comprehensive study for that area. There are certain corridors within the city identified as high-speed corridors. This area doesn't necessarily fall within that corridor, but you bring up valid concerns. And you got what I like to say is the threes: education, engineering, and enforcement. Obviously, we are the education and the enforcement arm. The engineering is what our city attorney has said. That lies within our traffic engineering department, public works department, but we are still continuing to investigating. The additional comment that I'll make is there were other associated factors with this and the reason that led to it. Because it is still an active investigation and we don't have toxicology results back, I can't completely address it, but there were an additional other things to consider, and signage may not have deterred this one. Okay.
Thank you, Chief. Any other questions, comments? Paul?
Carmen, I'm not even going to try your last name, and I've known you for 30 years. Carmen made this presentation to the city council, and we made contact. At one point in time, I was on Traffic and Transportation Commission, and that's where this would have come. That went away, and when I went from Traffic and Transportation to Transportation, it kind of seemed to be a balancing act of where Transportation would say that's Police Commission, and Police Commission would say that's Transportation. So that's why I recommended that Carmen come here. I knew she would be heard. I knew she would feel heard. And I do think I think the chief just clarified, but we need clarification on what falls and what used to fall into that commission. And that would be things like signage and traffic concerns. So since we received reports from the lieutenants in charge of traffic, I thought that this would be the appropriate venue. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Any other responses? Okay, thank you, everyone. Now we'll move over to agenda item F, approval of minutes from the January 21st, 2026 meeting. Can I get a motion?
I'll motion to approve.
James motions. Michael seconds. And we'll go through roll call. Oh, Michael Ellman, I'm sorry. And then we'll go through roll call.
Commissioner Chapman?
Yes.
Commissioner Coons?
Yes.
Vice Chair Elman?
Yes.
Chair Hakobian?
Yes.
Commissioner Hartunian?
Yes.
Commissioner McKenna?
Yes.
Commissioner Wenzel?
Yes.
Thank you, everyone. And now we're going to move over to item G, items of business. And for our first item, it's going to be presentation and discussion on the department's decision to separate from the CALIA accreditation program. And I'd like to welcome Lieutenant Bromway.
Good evening, Chair Hakopian, Police Commissioners, Lieutenant Emil Brimway with the Burbank Police Department. I'm currently assigned to our Traffic Bureau. Prior to that, I was assigned to our Professional Standards Bureau, where I was the CLIA Accreditation Manager, and I oversaw the CLIA accreditation process. So we're here to discuss the Commission on Accreditation for Law Enforcement Agencies, again, which is CALIA. If I get the PowerPoint, please. So back in 2008, the department back then decided to start the CLIA accreditation process. And I brought a little prop with me to show you. Back when I started here in 2007 myself, this here was called our general orders. It was an antiquated, older policy manual. There was policies in there dating back to 1988. So we're talking about 20 years old. So the department at that time decided, well, we need to move forward. We need to build a contemporary, modern policy manual, procedures, directives, so on and so forth. So the department decided to move forward. So the purpose of CLIA is to provide a structured framework for developing professional standards, which is what I mentioned, build or modernize internal systems. At that time, we did not have the audits and inspections, the countless audits and inspections we do on an annual basis currently within the department. Also, to build on best practices in areas of policy management, training, and organizational accountability. So again, we started the CALIA process in 2008. At that time, that's called the self-assessment period. So the department took 2 years to build up its policy manual, procedures, again, directives, placing certain audits and inspections in place before we could actually start the process of becoming accredited through CALIA. 2014 was the first year that we became accredited through CALIA. And what that entails is 3 years of web-based assessments that the CALIA auditors conduct of the department. And then the year 4 culmination is an additional web-based assessment. Then they have representatives that come to the police department or came to the police department, did an on-site assessment, interviewed countless employees to ensure that we're in compliance of CALIA. Since then, we have been accredited 4 times. The most recent accreditation occurred in November of 2025. There's over 400 standards that CALIA would look at, that we would have to provide proofs and standards to. Those 400 standards would have substandards, so you're looking upwards of 1,700 different documents or proofs that we would have to provide to the auditors to show them that we are doing exactly what we're supposed to do. So the decision to continue on from CALIA was a very well thought out process by the chief, the command staff, and the Professional Standards Bureau. We looked at internal mechanisms, what we currently have in place with regard to our policy manual. Our policy manual currently is well over upwards of 1,000 pages compared to this old general orders that we had here. And that's all housed in Power DMS, which is where the library exists for all of our policies and procedures. There's audits that are done of our policies and procedures, and we looked at that before we made the decision. Officers are required anytime policies are updated, laws change, officers need to review their policies, ensure that they understand their policies, which is again backed in roll call trainings to ensure that is occurring. The audits just confirm that the officers are reading, reviewing, and understanding those policies. The department continues to be committed to excellence, transparency, and accountability. And this process was a duplicative, repetitive process. So year after year, we were just providing CALIA with updated new proofs of what we've been doing for the last 17 years since we started the process with CALIA. That took myself, our police administrator, and 7 administrative analysts to work on this process. So we did a quick little internal study of that, and that equated to about 2.5 full-time employees or full-time employee hours to complete the annual CALIA accreditation process. So as we were analyzing this and looking into it, we thought, we have been doing this for 17 years, we're continuing to move forward, and we are now redirecting our resources to modernize technology, be it drones, our real-time crime center, outward dashboards, which we're working with Peregrine for the public, whether it's analyzing traffic safety, public safety, putting that information out to the public, but also analyzing internally to see what we can do better with regard to traffic safety and reducing crime in the city. So again, to touch on the Professional Standards Bureau, which is where I was assigned prior to the Traffic Bureau, that falls under our Transparency and Accountability Unit. So again, as mentioned earlier, our Lexipol contract, which we've had since 2008, we are continually receiving our updates through Lexipol, but we always go above and beyond. And that is why we house our policies in Power DMS. Lexipol pushes out policies. Many agencies will just adopt that exact policy and make it their policy. We always tailor our policies to our community. And then additionally, we add best practices, which is above and beyond what the laws require for us to follow as a department. We have our internal audits, as I mentioned. We have dozens of audits that we now annually do that we did not do pre-2008, whether it's our property and evidence room, our jail, and a variety of areas within the department that our Professional Standards Bureau supervisor conducts on an annual basis. As you guys all know here, Post is the most stringent, strict commission that I could think of in the nation. So we always not only meet their standards, but we exceed their standards on an annual basis. On February 5th, they're at our department recently doing an audit of our training unit, ensuring that we are abiding by all training required by Post, which again, we do conduct and complete, but we always go above and beyond than the training that's required by Post. And a lot of that training involves use of force, vehicle pursuits, and so on. I wanted to touch on a couple other things outside of OIR. Obviously, other things that I've discussed before you myself is the body-worn camera audits, the RIPA audits. Those are just some examples of audits that we conduct. Back in 2008, we did not have a critical incident review board either, which is that arduous, detailed process that starts from the moment that there is a pursuit or a use of force, and that entire process leading up to CURB and their review of it to see what can we do better. And again, that's striving for excellence, and we're going to always do that. So in closing, CLIA did play an important role in strengthening our organization in many facets, including, again, all the checks and balances that we have in place with our policies, procedures, all of our audits and inspections. The department's current systems, post mandates, and OIR oversight, meeting and exceeding those standards on an annual basis was another reason we decided to move beyond CLIA. And the department will continue to work on enhancing with our systems, again, always striving for excellence, and we are going to continue to move forward. So with that, if anyone has any questions for me, I'm ready to answer.
Thank you, Lieutenant Brimley, for your presentation. I'm going to open it up for questions from the commission. Norbert?
Yeah, thanks, Lieutenant. Just a quick question. You mentioned the internal audits. Seems like Burbank has a lot of best practices to share. Do we have any sort of like a peer review process with other departments that we do? Maybe like shared audits where they audit some of our processes, we audit theirs?
Not with other departments, but again, we have OIR.
Yeah.
Right? And so they review our policies, any racial-based bias, complaints in general, any issues involving any supervision they're reviewing, whether it's an internal complaint, external complaint, a use of force, vehicle pursuits. And they're very meticulous and detailed with that, and that's who the city attorney's office contracts with. And they do a very, very deep dive, as you guys are all aware. And overall, it's very favorable, as we all know, as far as their thoughts of us and how we conduct business in the city of Burbank. And there's always ways to improve that, and that's why we continue to work with OIR.
Thank you.
Thank you, Norbert. Ann?
Does the CALIA accreditation have any impact on grants that the city pursues?
Not that I am aware of, no
Okay.
grants, no.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you, Ann. Paul?
I just say thank you for the report, and I think what we learned from the OIR is just that this is a constantly improving, living, breathing document. Would that be correct? It's evolved, since you've been working on it, how much has evolved?
Oh, absolutely. Our policy manual, again, upwards of 1,000 pages, over 200 policies, procedures, directives, manuals that we have, it is living and breathing. And we are continually receiving updates from Lexipol attorneys, and we're implementing those immediately, pushing those out to the officers, ensuring that they're reading, understanding those policies, and that's where the audits come in that we're conducting with Power DMS to ensure that everyone is up to date with their policies. So it definitely, the whole process is living, breathing.
Well, just
Absolutely.
the entire occupation now, you're so challenged by technologies changing while we're speaking, and you're going to be responsible for enforcing it before
Right.
the meeting's over. So I appreciate the fact that you're so diligent, and I think it's why OIR uses us as an example. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. James?
Lieutenant Burbank, always good to see you. So I did a little bit of homework in preparation for this as well. And so one of the things that I appreciated, I know there was a lot of concern from commissioners about what would this mean, and you did a great job explaining it. I want to add a couple of things that you didn't have in your report. CALEA is international. And so I think they're on 4 continents or something like that. There are only 16 agencies in the state of California that are CALEA certified. That choose to go through the process. There are only 5 in LA County that go through the process, and I'm including the California Highway Patrol for that. There's over 45 police agencies in Los Angeles County alone, and only 4 or 5, if you include CHP, are included in that. There's no agencies south of Orange County. There's no agencies east of Los Angeles County that are CALEA certified. So I'm really appreciating what you're describing about this being. This is a great tool and a great resource to help an agency get organized. And I can also see where it's not necessarily needed, especially because of the post requirements as well. So I appreciate that. You talked about part of the decision for this is resource utilization, and this was taking 2.5 sworn officers or 2.5 staff roughly, FTEs?
Including myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Taking it offline from other duties and everything. So it seems like a really appropriate reallocation of resources to do this. And you repeatedly use the phrase above and beyond. And I just want to point out how much I appreciate that, because especially in light of what's been going on in the world right now, there's a lot of talk about constitutional policing going on right now. Constitutional policing is the bare minimum. And we've talked about that here before. So I really appreciate the push to go beyond. And I didn't plan this, but I was mentioning how there's another agency that I work with in my day job that is going to be reaching out to Burbank to learn how Burbank does its work. So you were saying you weren't sure of any collaborative efforts, but I'm aware that there are collaborative efforts where Burbank is actually reaching out and sharing resources and ideas and concepts with other departments. So thank you for the work you're doing.
Absolutely, yeah. CALEA, 3% of law enforcement agencies in the country are CALEA accredited, only 3%. Buena Park and I believe Hermosa Beach are the only ones within the area, and I think Cal State LA is the other one in the area as well. Yeah.
Commissioner Coombs, if I may add, from my perspective, never experiencing or having any sense of understanding of what CALEA was and kind of doing I don't know if I did as much of a deep dive as you did, but really trying to understand the nuance of CALEA and what it was, and I think you nailed it on its head as far as, it's meant for agencies that don't have established systems or the resources necessary, to identify or establish those best practices. And I may be a little bit biased here, obviously I'm at Burbank, but this organization has been going above and beyond. I knew that before I came over here, definitely since I've been here, and how we hold ourselves accountable. You use constitutional policing, could not agree with you more. I'll add that procedural justice piece that I think is also very important, when it comes to fairness, respect, and neutrality, in identifying that. So I appreciate your comments and your sentiment, and thank you.
Thank you. If I could add one last piece with that, and this is actually a challenge to the commission, because we can play a role going forward, is we do have the ability to review policies, provide input, commentary on policies and everything, and without having an outside accreditation body that's doing that, we're not an accrediting body, but we can be a check and balance and can review policy, ask questions about that, and I think we should be continuing to do that.
Thank you, James, and thank you, Chief. Michael Chapman?
Yeah. I have several questions. With CALEA, when they give their accreditation, how many times have we received accreditation from them? 4 times?
We've received 4 times, so we've been.
Since 2008?
2008 is when we started a self-assessment, and that's where you have to bring your department up to par to even present to them now and say, look, we're ready. So it took us 2 years to get to that point. So from 2010 until 25, so 14 years now.
So it's something that's
or 15 years.
Not every year, it's every couple of years.
It was on an annual basis. So every year we would have to provide proofs for standards. And that was a web-based assessment that CALEA would do with us, and you have to pass every single year. Then the 4th year was a complete culmination of all 4 years, and they would review standards for the 4 years, and then they would also come do an on-site assessment only on year 4, where they would come and interview various employees within the organization and take a tour of the department and the city.
And with the Lexipol, how does that differ?
Yeah, so we contracted with Lexipol when we started the CLIA accreditation process. So Lexipol is pretty much the gold standard of policies and procedures nationwide. Many departments throughout the country adopt or utilize parts of Lexipol's policies. So we are one of their customers, and we receive regular updates from them. So that's separate from CLIA.
Does either of them, I don't know, I have not seen one from CLIA, along with the accreditation, is there a reporter statement that's made, like we get with OIR annually?
Yes, that is provided to the chief. Once we are accredited, a document is provided to the department that congratulations, you have passed accreditation. All the standards you provided us were sufficient, and pretty much it's like a blessing, yes.
Is that something that is shared with the council or the commissioners? I'm not sure. Does it give some background of what they're looking at? And
Commissioner Chapman, I'd be more than happy to share that document. Last time that I reviewed it a couple months ago, when we received it, there was nothing sensitive or anything that I would have concern sharing it with all the commission, even posting it on our website. But it normally is not provided to the public. That is an internal generated document for us. Well, not internal generated, it's generated by CLIA for us internally.
I'm just, I see or felt that the CLIA was kind of like a tool as in an oversight level, where we don't have any direct oversight into the department. And they are making every tip, not internal affairs so much as developing policy and making sure that that's all working correctly, right?
So the policies and procedures are all in place, and that's where it comes from Lexipol primarily. And the internal audits that we have set up, that we have been conducting for well over a decade now, all those policies and procedures are in place. What would happen is they would come to us and say, there's these 400 standards, provide us proof that you are doing this. And for the last 15 years, we've continually, repetitively have provided them with proofs. The only difference is that you provide them with an updated version of it because they want something for that current year. Something that we've been doing for 15 years and we continue to do. If this was something that the chief felt that we needed to continue, we absolutely would. I know we talked about the 2.5 person hours or whatever. If it was something that the department needed, just like we've done for 15 years, we would have continued that process. But it is no longer needed. It is duplicative and repetitive work involving 1,600 plus standards that we provide. So it's something that we've been doing, we continue to do, and we're going to continue to do. So the oversight that we have now is OIR, coming before Police Commission. We take recommendations from you, and we're very transparent and open, so, yeah.
Good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Allen?
Lieutenant, I'd like to thank you for your presentation. I applaud the department to kind of change direction and try something new. I would like to see on our agenda a year from now a report on how it went this year without CLIA. And it's very difficult because when you're successful, I remember we always used a phrase at work, how do you measure success? It's very difficult. Anyway, so again, I applaud you for going in this direction, and I think it's a great plan. Thank you.
Paul?
Commissioner, I think the lieutenant already answered your question with OIR is the overview. It was, I agree with him saying it was duplicate effort, but we're still being reviewed. It's not, we're not being reviewed.
Somehow in my brain, I remember a discussion that there might be a new contract and it might not go to OIR, that you're going to explore.
Gentlemen, this is for just questions.
Yeah.
Right.
This is in discussion.
My point was that checks and balances are in place, and I agree with the lieutenant that this is repetitive.
Yeah.
I think it could change.
So we have the systems and processes in place. Our Transparency and Accountability Unit, our Professional Standards Bureau, this is what they do. When they come to work every day, today, tomorrow, next month, a year from now, their job is to ensure that all of our policies and procedures are up to date, while within the confines of the law, and beyond that, like I stated, best practices or audits and inspections that we've been doing. The chief is not going to stop any of those. If anything, he may expand that additionally. But those are not going to stop. Those are going to continue. So everything that we've been doing for the last 15 years will continue to happen. But again, it's taking those resources toward technology in different areas that it's going to be for the betterment of the community. That is not going to take away at all from what we've been doing, and that striving for excellence, we're never going to reach excellence. We all know that. But our chief's motto is we're going to always do our best to attain it, and that's what's going to push us forward. And that's not going to stop. That's not going to be possible.
I'll add just a little bit. So CALEA's oversight is also only advisory in nature. In reviewing the report, there were a couple of key areas that they identified that, based on their experience, they're making suggestions or recommendations as far as best practices. So without knowing something off the top of my head, it can be something as simple as our property and evidence room, how we currently take in property and tag it. We might be doing something or not taking into consideration what the rest of the nation has done as best practices. And it's up to us. So our current standard may be the minimum standard, and CALEA is identifying a better standard, an updated standard. So we take those recommendations and then implement them within policy as necessary. To the comment that the lieutenant just made as far as going beyond CALEA, and because CALEA also is, for the most part, the minimum standard, no different than POST is, and that's why we try to hold ourselves to a higher standard and at least meet or exceed. Wanting to make sure that accountability and transparency is not lost on us. As soon as we chose to separate from CALEA, Cal Chiefs ended up now putting out some training in identifying best practices for your transparency and audits divisions and what we can do to ensure that we are holding ourselves accountable. Lieutenant Brimway and some of my other staff made sure to attend those training sessions to make sure that whatever it is, information, and this was Cal Chiefs, right? So it's chiefs represented across the entire state of California. And on top of that, you got the International Association of Chiefs of Police to make sure that we are holding ourselves accountable and constantly attending this training and being on the forefront of whatever it is as law enforcement continues to move forward and even be more professional.
Thank you, Chief.
Was there an experience in Glendale where they were using one or the other, these two?
CALEA was not used. As mentioned by Commissioner Coombs, very few agencies. I think we were the only one in LA County that were using them. In LA County?
There's 5 in LA County.
And
not including Burbank.
And I'm not including CHP because CHP is...
So 4. Yeah, it was Anaheim, Buena Park, Garden Grove, and Garden Grove is in Orange County.
Anaheim is in Orange County.
Yeah, you're right. Anaheim's in Orange County as well. So we're looking at,
Hermosa?
Yeah, we're the
Hermosa.
only one.
Hermosa Beach and Cal State LA are the only.
Cal State LA is not even using it right now.
They're not using it anymore?
Yeah,
Okay.
so it's just Hermosa Beach. Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so no further questions. I don't have any questions, but I just want to thank you, Lieutenant Brimway, for the wonderful presentation.
Thank you.
And thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And next, we're going to move on to, next item of business is agenda item 2, discussion and recommendations on how to structure agenda items to align with city council goals and clearly define purpose, outcome, and community impact. So everyone should have received a discussion support document, and this document was put together just as a guide. And for the people at home, I'm just going to go ahead and just read through the document, and then I would love for us as the commission to kind of engage, ask questions, and have a conversation about the way we would like to, I would say, approach this, and if we do want to use this guide, but this is a wonderful way of us figuring out how we structure agenda items moving forward. So first, of course, an important disclaimer. This document is for discussion purposes only. This is not an official document of the Burbank Police Department, the Burbank Police Commission, the City of Burbank, just intended to help facilitate discussion regarding best practices for structuring Police Commission agenda items using publicly available charter language and general municipal commission best practices. This document does not establish policy, create authority, or replace the Burbank City Charter, municipal code, city council direction, city attorney legal guidance, official city procedures. If adopted practices differ from this document, official city direction controls. So the purpose of the discussion is to create a clear, consistent, and charter-aligned approach to introducing agenda items clearly and with purpose, requesting information from the police department in a structured and effective way, aligning commission priorities with city council direction and goals, using staff resources efficiently and strategically, strengthening the overall effectiveness and the impact of the commission. And this is intended to support current and future commissioners. I know commissioners, when we first get on this commission, we're looking at what our roles and responsibilities are, and we're hoping that this guide would provide that. And then referring to the charter, section 705, the police commission shall have the following powers and duties: to initiate studies and surveys in general field of police science and law enforcement and report its findings and recommendations to council, to conduct hearings, investigations, or both at the request of council for the purpose of asserting whether additional legislation is needed for health, safety, peace, and welfare of the inhabitants of the city, and to make findings and recommendations to council. To act as an advisory capacity to the city council on policy matters pertaining to the police department of the city. To receive complaints, except those relating to traffic engineering, pertaining to the police department and law enforcement in general. To examine books, papers, records, and accounts in the police department other than confidential matters under investigation. So the practical role of the commission when structuring agendas. Agenda items should support the commission's role as a civilian advisory body, policy advisory body to council, community transparency bridge, strategic public safety partner. Agenda items should avoid operational management of the police department. Scope boundaries for agenda structuring, appropriate for agenda consideration. Department policy trends, training philosophy updates, community trust metrics, complaint trends and patterns, not individual case outcomes, best practice comparisons, council-directed reviews, long-range public safety strategies, and transparency reporting. And for items not appropriate for the agenda consideration, active criminal and internal investigations, individual officer discipline for performance review, union or labor negotiations, litigation strategies or legal case preparation, real-time operational direction, budget micromanagement at line level item, directing officers or chain of command activity, confidential personnel file review outside legal structure. And then, of course, we have our city attorney, Gina O. It's available for consultation. The consultations is encouraged when questions arise regarding charter authority interpretation, Brown Act compliance, Public Records Act issues, confidentiality boundaries, legal exposure related to agenda topics, complaint handling scope, investigative authority questions. Early consultation helps protect commissioners and the city. So there's an agenda screening framework, and this is just, I would say, just a template. This is obviously nothing official, but something that we can kind of consider when we are agendizing items. So we can consider in the category of the charter alignment check, does agenda item connect to policy, oversight, study or survey, complaint pattern review, city council goals and priorities? And then we can also check if it's a public value check. Does this improve transparency, policy quality, community trust, officer support systems, council decision-making? And of course, we have to consider staff impact. Can commissioners research baseline data first? Is this already publicly reported? Is staff effort proportional to public value? And of course, a peer review check. Reviewing the relevance, charter alignment, public view, and staff impact of the proposed agenda item with at least one, but no more than a minority percentage of the fellow commissioners is permissible and recommended. Discussing a draft agenda item with a quorum majority of the police commissioners outside a properly scheduled meeting is prohibited under the Brown Act. And then we got an opportunity to meet with City Council on October 14th, and we got a lot of wonderful suggestions from our city council, which I'm going to go ahead and go through, and which is within our scope of the police commission. So first, they suggested the police pursuit policy, reviewing and discussing the department's pursuit policy, evaluating risk versus reward, community expectations, and safety trade-offs, facilitate a public education dialogue on when and how pursuits are used, community engagement and community involvement, explore ways the commission can support community engagement efforts, advise on how to improve public awareness of commission meetings and increase attendance, provide feedback on department outreach strategies and community perception. Third item, defensive force training, study training frequencies, methods, readiness, and retention of defensive force skills, provide perspective on whether current training meets community and best practice expectations. And number 4, recruitment and hiring, review recruitment strategies to ensure a strong candidate pipeline, evaluate hiring practices and strategies to attract quality applicants. Number 5, technology investment. Assessing emerging technology and how it's used by the department, for example, license plate readers, other safety tech, providing input on technology adoption, effectiveness, and community concerns. And then number 6, ongoing education and training of officers, review continuing education programs, explore opportunities for new training approaches and exposure to innovation. Number 7, traffic safety education. Discuss traffic safety concerns raised by the community, especially around schools and common violations. Provide recommendations on education and enforcement strategies related to traffic safety. And number 8, officer wellness and support programs. Examine the department's efforts around officer mental health, wellness, fitness, nutrition, and stress report. Advise on ways to strengthen organizational culture and support structures for sworn and non-sworn personnel. And number 9, review of aging facilities, infrastructure conditions. Evaluate department facilities, workspace offices for adequacy for modernization and needs. Provide advisory input where facility improvements impact public safety or officer effectiveness. And finally, number 10, review of prior recommendations. Look back at the previous commission recommendations that weren't accepted to identify themes and ongoing concerns. And note, this is just advisory. Actual action depends on department and council response. And so what I would like to do now is just open up to the commission. And remember, this is just a template. We get to decide what this means to us and provide our input. And of course, with Gina's support. And I just want to open up to the commission to just have a conversation. Does anyone have any questions? Or?
No questions, just comments on, actually maybe some clarification with some comments and everything. And so first off, thank you for putting this together. This was a lot of work to put together. So I really appreciate you taking the time to review prior materials and doing this. And I'm assuming, did Gina help you out with this at all? None whatsoever?
No.
Okay, kudos to you, Romik. And thank you for being available to us to consult, which you have been before, and along with Ray. I personally, my personal feeling is under a practical role of the commission is the policy advisory body of the council. I honestly think that's where I think that's where our strength is at, but I also realize that we're going to have different motivations for wanting to be involved in this work. But for me, that policy advisory piece is so critically important, so I appreciate that. I was so excited earlier when we had people in the audience. I appreciate having in the audience, and I appreciate having our liaison here as well. But just so excited when we had people here. It brings life to the work that we're doing. So I want more of that. Happy to, at least I can self-report that I'm not aware of any Brown Act violations, so that peer review check is something that's been actively involved since my involvement in the commission. So I'm not just operating on my own. I'm trying to check in with other people. So I appreciate that you included that there. I used a word, the chief's not here, but I used a word a few meetings ago that I think might have put people on the defensive, and I wanted to provide some clarification. This is specifically around item number 3 for the recommendations, but it's around a word that I used in exploring that. I had asked if I could audit, Chief, I'm glad you're back. I had asked if I could audit a training, and I wanted to apologize because I think the word itself did not land correctly. I was using it in the context of one kid just finished college, the other one's in school right now, and the idea of auditing a class where we're just sitting in and we're just listening in to kind of get a flavor for what's going on. So I want to revisit that with the department later on to be able to sit in periodically, but it wasn't my intent it wasn't an audit in the sense of audit, if that makes sense. I'd like to recommend under number 10, the review of prior recommendations, not just commission recommendations, but making sure that we're going back. OIR does a lot of work for the city, and I know that other commissioners have done a lot of work in reviewing OIR recommendations and what's been accepted, not accepted. And I'd like to make sure that we're including not just commission recommendations, but any resources like the OIR report to take a look at recommendations that were accepted or not accepted and why. So just real great work with this. This is. I think this will be really helpful for us.
Thank you, James. Paul?
Following up on what James said, that's our audience. And on watching actually on YouTube is not much more. So I realize our value is if each one of us knows 100 people, that's 700 people that have access to the information and to the community. And I feel that that's our role, is to communicate, to bring their thoughts here, like with Carmen, and for us to bring, when someone says something, did you hear about that situation? And we point out, did you realize that Burbank PD posted a video, the officer's body cam of that? It's on YouTube. Oh, go look at it and diffuse the confusion. So I agree with you 100%. I think that this helps outline what directions we go in. But I do think that one of the biggest value we have is the people that are not here, that we talk to. Because if the room was full, we would have an audience. But right now, our audiences are the people that are curious, the people that are misinformed. I mean, I remember graduating from Leadership Burbank, and I was on Olive, and someone was complaining about that pollution coming out of that building up on Magnolia. And I explained that steam that is cleaner than went in. You know, and it's just knowledge. And people don't have knowledge, they make something up. So I think that our role is the police department informs us, we have questions, we ask them, and more importantly, we can direct the public to the resources that we've been given to find their own answers and to find out that we are a transparent department.
Thank you, Paul. Anybody else?
This is amazing. There's so much information here, and then each one of these begs for more questions. I'm wondering if there's a way that we can, I don't know, break it down, divide it up, bring more to the table. I mean, I want to talk about all of it. Not really, don't worry. But how do we, there's nothing here that should go untouched. How do we tackle some of this?
I would say review it and agendize it.
We
You have
can
to set
also
priorities.
focus on the,
Also?
You have to set priorities. You can't do everything in
No, chunk
10
it up.
meetings. So
Yeah.
It's very template.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Then it was just, the intent was to create, first of all, I can't take credit for all the work. I mean, James did a wonderful job over the last 3 years, really prepping me for something like this, you know, from the documents that he saved over the years to the conversations we've had to the documents that we created together. So a big thank you to James. And also, Narbe did have some of his fingerprints on this. And I just want to thank you for reviewing that as well. And so I just want to say that, you know, I know me and our city attorney spoke about if this would be something that we want to include in like the orientation packet, you know, when somebody, you know, comes on the commission, so they have an idea of what they're doing.
Yeah, I think the orientation packet and process needs to be updated on a regular basis
Yeah.
because there's things that we didn't know. And when we've gone over time, we've updated it, we've made changes to it. We need to continue to do that. That's just going to be a regular part of doing business.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I also want to thank our council member, Vice Mayor Suzette Mullins for being here. And of course, you know, Paul, your number 2 community engagement. I mean, you went out, spoke with somebody, you brought them into the commission meeting to give a comment. I mean, that aligns directly with what they recommended for us to do. And that's a big part of our role. We're community liaisons. We go out there, we find information, we bring it back. And I think that's a wonderful thing that you did.
Thank you, and I do think, I know that there's discussion about possibly streamlining the commission, but going back to the numbers I just said, if we only speak to 100 people, that's 700 people. If there's only 5 of us, that's 500 people. And that's a percentage of the community that's not being engaged. The truth is, we're all like-minded people, we have similar values, but we all have different walks of life. So I think we covered the city pretty well in that respect.
Thank you, Paul. Anybody else?
Oh, you did a great job here. And everything here falls within the city charter definition of our commission. I think this, but this defines it a little bit closer. I think it'd be a great idea. Are you making a motion that we include this in packets? Is there a motion that's coming,
Gina? No, I don't
So,
think we need
or is
that.
this a report, we look at it?
well, I've heard different things tonight. Commissioner Wenzel mentioned that there's a lot in here that she thinks, I believe, if I understood correctly, that warrants further discussion amongst the commission. And so what we can do is break it up into sections and bring it back on the agenda so that you have more time to digest smaller pieces of it, if that's the desire of the commission. I did want to address one thing that Commissioner Chapman stated, and that's on the agenda screening framework page. The charter alignment check, one change I would make is on the second bullet point where it says oversight. For me, oversight is a really charged word, and typically when people think about police commissions, they have a certain understanding of what oversight, and I put that in quotes, means. And if you actually look at the charter and the Burbank Municipal Code as it adopts the charter, the word oversight is not in there at all. This body does not provide oversight in the way the typical dictionary definition of what we understand oversight to mean, especially in a police commission context. And I think Commissioner Coombs stated, really what this commission is tasked to do is to be an advisory body. So if I could have one thing magically happen, is to never hear the word oversight with this commission. This is a advisory body. And I think it's really important that we say that, and we say it often, because when we use the word oversight, I think it gives the public a false understanding of what the commission is supposed to do. And so that's what I would ask of the commissioners at the commission, is that when you think about what you do, and I would change that word, and I would just strike it and maybe replace it with advisory. But I recommend you guys discuss how you want to bring this back, because my understanding is I don't know that you are ready to accept it, adopt it as it's written. I think, at least I heard from one commissioner that she wants further discussion.
I think the confusion arises if you go to the city website and you read the charter, we're an advisory group. If you go to the department website and you go Police Commission, you will see a mission statement that says the word oversight. That should be corrected.
Chairman?
Also, this is a lot to digest. And I think we have to, on our own time, go through it line by line and see what works, what maybe we're not crazy about. But I think we need time to really go through this and come back with recommendations, rather than trying to say, this is great, and it is great, the work you did. But I think it takes time to digest.
Okay. Appreciate that. Paul?
Mr. Chairman, I think, I'd like to make a motion that I think a version of this be adopted every year and presented to incoming commissioners, so that they have an idea of the framework of what's in front of them. It's, as we discussed with other things tonight, it's a living, breathing document. It should change every year with the needs of the community, but it's a framework. And it's a framework and it's a great educational tool for someone coming in saying, what do I do now?
Gina?
I think that's a great idea. I think, but it's maybe a little bit premature, because I would like for you guys to figure out what you have, and then I think we can have that motion on how it gets utilized.
Absolutely. And, Paul, James?
So if I can add, so it's tricky because we can make recommendations right now. We can't discuss it we can't even do like a daisy chain conversation. Did I get that right? We can't even, my fear is having a daisy chain conversation outside of this meeting where one person talks to another, talks to another, talks to another, which would be a violation of the Brown Act. So it feels like now might be a time to capture some recommendations, and then we can formally agendize it for the future to continue to have the discussion. But I don't want to lose anything that we had talked about tonight, and I'm thinking about a couple of things right now that I'm afraid I'll forget if I don't put them on the record tonight.
Yes, absolutely.
I
go
think
ahead.
we have all been trained on the Brown Act, and we think we know how to behave outside the meetings. So I don't worry about that, just like I don't worry about an asteroid hitting City Hall right now. It's a lot to think about. I think it is premature. We should agendize it for a future meeting and come back with concrete ideas.
I think that we can take a hybrid approach. We can give them our recommendations tonight. I mean, if Jane has some ideas, I think you can provide them, but we can always come back because this isn't like an official thing now. We can develop this template over time, like Gina suggested, but we should be allowed to talk about it and provide our input today.
Yes, what I heard is Commissioner Coombs say he really values your input and wants to have the discussion, and the only time he can do that is right now, because it's on the agenda.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
All right. So couple of things that I'm seeing. I would go ahead, as what Gina said, under the charter alignment check, I would go ahead and just remove the word oversight for right now. It's just a recommendation for this document. On the very last item, I'm going to jump around a little bit, item number 10 under suggestions, I'd like to recommend look back at previous commission and outside recommendations. So I don't want to specifically name OIR because there's always the potential for that changing, but I want to make sure that outside recommendations, even if we get something in public comment or email, we could take that in and take that into consideration. This is one that's going to be tricky. I'm just going to name it because I know I'm going to forget it and avoid it later on. I'm going to recommend that at some point in the future, we take a look at the Burbank City Charter. And this is, I just want to name this for the record right now. Specifically, it's the second bullet. It's to conduct hearings, investigations, or both at the request of the council for the purpose of ascertaining whether additional legislation is needed for health, safety, peace, welfare, and inhabitants of the city, so on and so forth. I'm going to recommend at some point we need to revisit that investigations word because we know we can't conduct investigations, but what we can do is we can do research. So I'm going to recommend that word investigations be changed to research for the city charter, which I know is a monumental task, but I just want to name that because I think that's an area that has come up over the last 4 or 5 years even, because we don't do investigations. We're not authorized to do investigations, but we can do research.
And to add to that, Gina, how does that work in regards to making a recommendation for the charter?
So
That's a big process.
it's not right.
How does a bill become a law?
There is actually a charter review committee. They don't meet all the time, but they meet as needed. Usually when revisions to the charter or proposed revisions to the charter will be coming up on a ballot, they typically meet to get ready for it, and they go over the charter and make recommendations about what they think should be changed. The charter can only be changed by the voters. So the council can't change the charter. It has to be on the ballot, and the voters have to actually vote to change the charter. But because we do have this charter review committee, and I do know historically in the past, from my 27 years of being with the city, they do go and ask for proposed changes. I know as a department, they've asked our office, is there any proposed changes that we would make? And specifically for me, in the past, I do recall them asking about the police commission section. Are there any proposed changes that we would like to make? And I kick myself that at that time, I didn't know enough to make suggested changes. So I think this is good that you put it out there. We're documenting it so that when they do come around again, we actually have a record of that, because I don't know about you guys, but I can't remember things I did this morning. It like literally sometimes goes in and out, right? There's too many things going on in our lives. So I think it's fine to suggest it, understanding that we can't just change it, council can't
Right.
just change it. It is actually quite involved to change the charter.
If I can add to that history, actually, I was serving as chair. Councilmember Rosati was actually chairing the Charter Review Committee for the city before he became a council member. I was representing the Burbank Police Commission, and I attended a meeting, and I didn't know what I didn't know, truthfully. So I wouldn't have even known to make that recommendation, because at the time, I was reviewing it going, oh, yeah, we can do investigations. Well, now I know we don't do investigations for a lot of different reasons, but if I knew that, then I would have made that recommendation. So I want to make sure we note that. Thank you.
Michael?
Just quickly, I've served on charter review, and there is like a period of public comment that any resident can come in and make suggestions to the charter review committee of what they think should be changed. So if there is a due charter review committee created at some point, any of us could go and address them. And the second thing I want to talk about was number 9 under city council suggestions.
Yeah.
The aging facilities infrastructure and conditions. That's really kind of not our area of expertise. I mean, that's kind of going into public works, because this is all, I don't know if any of us are contractors. I think if it's brought to our attention, we should follow through, but to go looking for, things is maybe not what we should be doing.
I've actually made recommendations. I won't bring them up here, but we will find, I guarantee we'll find ourselves in situations where we're going to be looking around the building and wanting to make some recommendations about the facility.
Yeah, I'm guilty of that as well.
Yeah.
I've done that as well.
Contractors.
Anyone else? Ann?
I have a couple of things, forgive me. On the second page, the general heading, practical role of the commission, under scope boundaries for agenda structuring, I apologize, I don't understand what training philosophy updates means. Is that like the training of our department? The mechanics of it?
That could be
Is that just
anything
me?
from, that could be anything from philosophy, could be the programs that they're using for training.
Okay.
Right.
Or the couple of meetings ago, talking about work that's being done if somebody doesn't pass the first time, other methods of them working out or something to improve that physical nature. You mean like that?
Yeah, well, it's going to be just in the scope of training in general, and that's part of the conversation is how training works and, what that entails and what does retraining look like. So, yeah, that falls within the,
Okay, thank you. I understand now. Second, I had a question. Well, again, it was just to rephrase that, but just because I don't understand it doesn't mean it's wrong. What was that other thing? I'd be curious under City Council suggestions, number 4, recruitment and hiring. I would love to find out more about what brought certain recruits to our city. What did they like? In other words, what aspects perhaps of our program worked? What got them? And then use that. I guess that was it for now.
wonderful. Thank you, Ann.
I agree with Ann on that, and I guess, Chief, I don't know, tell me if this is appropriate or not, but I've printed out the recruiting flyer and given it to my son, who's taken it to his Marine Corps Reserve weekend and handed it out. And I guess one of the things we need to include is why Burbank. People are looking at bigger departments, for whatever reason, especially, let's just say young, energetic Marines. I won't say young and dumb, but they think they want more excitement. And I just think that along the lines of what Ann is saying, I would like to tell them why this is the place to be, why it's not a bad place to start, other than just financial.
So those are great. I just want to remind everyone that we're not actually talking about number 4. We're
Yeah.
talking, this is actually council suggestions about agenda items that they think you guys should have for the future. So we will bring that back, and at that time, so don't forget your suggestions. I actually took a note on it, because when we do have that actual item on the agenda to discuss, that's when you should bring that back up again. So I want to make sure that we are staying within the agenda item, right?
Absolutely.
That's our watchdog.
Absolutely.
Barking
So
me.
what we can do is, I know that, do we want to give some time for some commissioners? I know we gave a lot of wonderful suggestions today, took a lot of notes, for some of the commissioners to review this more and then come back. And we can have a document that we can eventually submit where, or it can be part of the orientation package.
I agree with you. If you're talking about re-agendizing it to polish it,
Yeah.
I would agree with that, because like we talked about everything tonight, these are all documents that are changing
Constantly.
with every turn of the page of the calendar. So, but yes, the most important thing is having a framework. That once we have that's a starting point. Until we have a framework, we're just sort of showing up haphazard. So I like the fact that you established the framework, and we've already X'd out some things that are not appropriate, and we'll add things that are make us more proficient.
And Gina, if I can ask, and the staff impact check, would it be okay if the chief would give us any suggestions from his perspective when it comes to staff impact? Because I know we discussed, we mentioned about, if we can research it, we can find the information. The onus is on us to find anything that's publicly available. But if there's anything else that he would suggest, he's more than welcome to. Yeah.
Do we need a
So
motion
suggestion
now
for
to-
future, we'll number the pages.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, where?
Oh, it's under safety staff impact. It's the third to the last page, under agenda screening framework.
Okay.
Can you repeat your question? What you would like me to address?
In regards to the staff impact check, outside of those 3 bullet points, is there anything else that you would provide us from a standpoint of using staff resources?
First, I appreciate the consideration. I think I've been saying, or at least having several conversations with you individually, and being mindful or overly mindful of the staff impact. So far, what I have seen has not been out of reason, in the sense of what you are requesting and making the assumption of what the community wants to hear. Some of that being on traffic safety. Then you have other things that may impact the community that are relevant and timely, as far as providing updates on that. Even highlighting the important things, I think, that is mentioned within this framework, like our CSOs, right? Educating the community. So when we start talking data, reflecting back probably a year ago, almost a year ago, when we were looking at certain documents that can be very comprehensive in nature, and you're doing a really granular check, that is going to take a little bit more work. Even though we have systems and technology to help us with the majority of it, the explanation association, even sometimes depending on the data, that can be. But I leave it open. I guess if I'm going to answer it, I leave it open in just having this discussion, and I'm flexible. More importantly than anything, I think the word that keeps resonating tonight is just transparency. And you've heard me say it over and over. I want you to look in our department. I know our men and women are doing a phenomenal job, our professional staff and our sworn people. So I work for the people, I work for our community. I want to make sure that they are educated, no different than what Lieutenant Fromer said earlier, in creating that sense of understanding. And I'll let you know when I believe that the staff work is going to be unreasonable.
Wonderful. Thank you, Chief. Any other questions or comments before we move forward? Robert?
Yeah, just general, I think this is great. I agree with a lot of the comments that have been said, like striking the word oversight. I think the agenda screening framework, not only is it a good framework for proposing agenda items, it's also kind of a good checklist to drive some of our discussions when agenda items are proposed. You know, kind of go through this together, especially if we haven't had a chance to kind of contemplate the agenda item beforehand, if it is at some common talking point. So it's a good opportunity to kind of talk amongst each other to see where everyone's coming from, why we think, for example, an agenda item promotes transparency or efficiency or some of these other things. So great work on this. I really appreciate it.
And thank you.
As a new guy who doesn't understand, didn't have a great understanding of the commission worked, this has answered a lot of the questions I had in the last couple of months.
Wonderful. And that was the intent.
Are we at a point where we need to move along to make a motion to add this to
No, what we can
agenda,
do,
or-
we can agendize this for a future conversation, maybe, 2 months from now, and gives us time to really research it, bring our ideas, and we can have a much more, I guess, more comprehensive, because, this is something that you guys were just kind of provided today, so just give you time to really register that and just bring it back information.
Okay. So we can put that on the list under H there, under
Yeah, when we're.
our agenda.
Yeah. Okay, wonderful. So without any further comments, questions, or discussion, we're going to go ahead and move on to our next agenda item. And the next agenda item is discussion recommendations on strengthening and refining commission community engagement. And you guys will see another attachment here for community engagement. This is just, kind of went back and look at what we do throughout the year, the activities I've been involved with my fellow commissioners. And I'm just going to read this for the people watching at home. The Police Commission Community Engagement Activities, Community Police Academy participation, ride-alongs with patrol officers, Police and Fire Service Day, Drive Right, Say Less community workshops, National Night Out, Police Department-sponsored community events, NACOL conference participation, City of Burbank community events and civic functions, Police Department graduation ceremonies. So this is a conversation in regards to, these are community engagement activities that we have now. Do we have any other suggestions or anything new that the commission wants to bring to the table? Or any of these that we should prioritize and recommend for anyone who's coming on the commission to take advantage of?
I have something to add, and it was
Sure.
actually based on something that Councilmember Rosati said a few months ago as well. I think it would really benefit. Some of us go to some of these things already, but there are community events, just general community events. I could be working on the Burbank float. That's not a pitch, but there's also like the protests that are taking place at Lincoln Park as well on a regular basis. I know some of us are attending some of those events and activities as well. I would recommend including that. Other community, you could just list other community events on this sheet, because I think having a presence there and then being able to engage in dialogue with folks in events that are outside of law enforcement specific related events creates another opportunity to have the discussion about, to gain feedback for the department, to share information about the department, to engage the community.
I think that's great.
I think that's already on there. It's the second from last, community events. But I agree with Mr. Commissioner Combs. I agree with you 100%. I think one of the things we need to do is not be afraid to identify ourselves. So whether we're at church, whether we're at our Kiwanis,
Right.
whether we're at the float, we should be approachable, because we don't have all the answers, but we know who to ask, and
Yeah.
we can refer people. Even if it's, I had someone on Facebook make a complaint about a crosswalk light being out and responded, "Did you report it to 311?" And everybody immediately jumped on it saying, exactly, if you don't report it, how are we going to fix it? So sometimes it's just a matter of looking at it from a different point of view and giving people the.
Yeah.
But the most important thing is we have to identify ourselves to the community.
Yeah.
So that they know that we're approachable.
Mike?
I might include that we should maybe build somewhat of a relationship with the Burbank Police Foundation. They're a very important group, and we never seem to be working with them.
Thank you, Mike. Anyone else?
I mean, I have opinions on that specifically, and we can get into that later on. I think we serve different functions personally, between what we do and what the Burbank Police Foundation does.
I think we do serve different functions, but I think there should be like an awareness of what their function is and what
Yeah.
our function is. So it's just a matter of reaching out.
Just having a relationship.
Yeah, they
Okay.
can say thanks, but no thanks,
Yeah.
or welcome.
Sure. Also, one thing I would like to suggest, and I know that loosely, me and the chief talked about this a while back, maybe a town hall. Maybe a town hall where we can organize a town hall and obviously respect to the Brown Act and invite the police department to talk about specific topics or anything that's hot and trending in the community. I know, actually, no, James, you actually came up with that idea. So I think that that's something that we can definitely, include as part of the list.
I'm thinking way back when my people were sent on an excursion, and they didn't have leadership from our specific unit, and I felt that that wasn't appropriate. So I went on my own time for 4 days, and the first 3 days I was there, everybody was friendly, but nobody had any complaints, because I was spying on them. And I had left out a clipboard. Do you have a problem? Are you not getting your mail, your pay? And nobody wrote anything on it for 3 days. At the end of the fourth day, it was full, because they realized that I wasn't there to play tattletale. I was there to say, I know that there's a void and I want to fill it. I think that's part of what we do. I think we have to let people fill that clipboard and let us know, and whether it be officers, I mean, I do participate when invited to the Burbank Police Foundation events. I met the chief playing bocce ball last year. I think he cheated because they won, and I thought that was kind of convenient. But it gives me a chance to talk to the police officers, and also, like I said, for them to realize, I know I come across sometimes pro-police, because that's my background, but just like any other, anyone who violates the code that you believe in so strongly, you are more harsher, you judge them harsher. So, yes, I'm pro-police, but if someone violates that code, I'm going to be the first one to stand behind you and say there's been a violation here. And I think that's part of who we are, and that's our value to the community. So these activities, whether it be Police Foundation, where I'm mainly dealing with police officers when you're at those things, are in the community. Both sides need to trust you, and trust that even if something gets said without their name being used, just to point it out, that's appropriate.
Paul, I really appreciate that. And, of course, like, some of you've maybe heard this before from me, but in regards to, I know me and James have talked about this, is having, supporting the police department and advocating for a good department, is a part of our duty as well, and just making sure that, they have the resources they need to keep morale high and be a voice for them as well. So it's, and also maintain that level of independence where, we don't come off like the cheerleaders or like you were describing, correct? So I think that that's perfectly valid. I appreciate you sharing that.
Can
I
I
think
share a quick
Sorry.
point just on that comment? I apologize. And no, not about bocce ball. I won that fair and square based on my bowling prowess.
Yes.
So I mentioned my insight because this entire process is new to me. And I think it's a valid point as far as filling that clipboard. I love that analogy. More from developing a relationship. And yes, I am the police chief of an organization. We work collaboratively together. You, advisor, oversight, whatever word we want to choose. But I've come to kind of know each one of you. And through that relationship, now have a better sense of understanding when you make a comment or a suggestion, the belief that it's coming from a good place. And, representing both. So for what it's worth, granted in my position, but also I think just as a regular, not having a relationship with any of you before, I think it's important to develop that trust.
Thank you, Chief. We really appreciate that. And Gina?
So I think the question that hasn't been asked is, why don't people come to police commission meetings? I'm sorry, I stole your comment. We have tried town halls in the past, and the challenge there was that it looked and felt just like our regular police commission meeting, and we had about the same amount of attendance. Are people not coming because they're satisfied with the state that we are in, the services that the police department gives to the community, and that's why they're not here? Are they not coming because they don't feel safe, that this is not a safe space for them to come and talk? I think when we talk about community engagement, I think we need to ask, what is it that we're trying to accomplish, and also why aren't people here? Even the people who came and spoke today, everybody who spoke today was against the program, right? They were here because they had an opposite point of view that they wanted to share. It seems when people are happy, they don't come. But is that really what's happening? And I guess these things are great. The things that are listed are great. But these are mostly events where people who would engage with you are going to engage with you, right? And I don't know how to reach everybody else. And I think that's the challenge. And I don't know that we have an answer, but that's the big question, right?
Honest to Murgatroyd was going to say exactly this. And one, I think it's our job to come up with vehicles, opportunities to expand community engagement. And that's something for our discussion. What I was going to do was say, I challenge anybody who's listening. I'll challenge, and often I do challenge people that I engage with, that I meet, that I park next to, and say, tell us, share with us, what kind of opportunities would you attend? Not everybody can go to Coffee with a Cop. Not everybody can join the Police Foundation. But I challenge anybody who's at home or that I know and that I will meet for, say, the next 48 hours. I want to know, how can you complain? How can you best tell something that's a good story, maybe? Get involved. I think most people do not get involved. I hate to say it because they don't think it's going to do anything. That the bottom line may not solve a problem.
Paul?
I agree with you, but also I think tonight was a great example. Lieutenant Fromer did a wonderful job of, I don't even want to say diffusing, just answering the misunderstandings. And when it was over, I approached the woman who was here, because if you remember, last month I said, I object to the word military. Military is a confrontational term. These are defensive tools. But that's a state word. And we had explained to her that I explained to her, and you could almost see the wind coming out of her sails because she realized we were speaking from the same point of view. It really bothers me, even like when the one smoke device that he referred to as a grenade, that's what it would be called, that's shaped like a baseball. That's not, it's not meant to be, it's shaped like something that most people have thrown, and therefore most people have the ability to deploy. I think there's a lot of ways to present these things in ways that people will go, oh, I get it now. And I think Lieutenant Fromer did a wonderful job of that tonight, and I'm glad that we had a couple of minutes, a couple of us walk up there and spoke with the people that stayed afterward, because you're right. When people do come, I'm going to say more than 50% of the time, and I'm being very conservative on that, it's because they're misinformed. And especially with, as I said, with the transparency, when people ask a question about an incident, you say, go look at the YouTube video. Look at what the PAO put out. It's amazing because it diffuses them, because it's all there. You can't, you can't argue with the truth when it's in front of you with a camera. And even so, when I went to, there was one point in time, I want to say it was from the oversight, it was a thing about whether or not officers should be able to turn the camera off. So when I went to the conference, I asked the people who made them, I said, why is that even an option? He said, guy takes a phone call from his wife, guy goes into the restroom. Valid things that you don't think about if you're not wearing a camera 24/7. So if you have a question, ask it, and if there isn't a logical answer, we'll find out why. And I think that's our role.
Okay.
So this will be a little tricky. I've been thinking this through to make sure that we don't violate anything that we're not supposed to do. We had a discussion a while ago, two different separate thoughts. One, we had a discussion a while ago about how do we identify ourselves in the community. I think we really need to identify ourselves in the community to the extent that we're comfortable identifying ourselves in the community. So for example, we had, after the last meeting, I was talking with the folks in the audience as well. I gave them my cell phone number and said, call me or text me. I'm going to come back to that text thing in a moment. But I would not expect anybody here to share that information unless you were comfortable and versed in doing that. I don't think anybody should extend themselves beyond their comfort zone to have a genuine interaction with somebody in the community. So I wouldn't expect that. To that end, we had this discussion a few 6 months ago or so, and it kind of died on the vine, but I'm going to bring it back right now. But I'm going to try to do it in a way that we can get away with right here. I have access to a friend who does embroidery. I'm going to get a neutral, like a gray T-shirt, and a gray pullover done that just says BPC on it. And the purpose of that is when I'm out in the community, it's a way for me in a way that I'm comfortable with to open up that conversation. So what I'm going to do is, this is going to get a little bit weird because we can't do any of these arrangements outside of this meeting because that would be a violation of the Brown Act. Is there anybody else that's interested in that T-shirt or pullover?
I think it's.
Let me finish this up
Yeah.
real quick. Is there anybody else that's interested in that T-shirt or pullover? Was that a yes or a no or a?
No, I'll comment. 6 months ago, I would have been. Now I'll say I'm not.
Perfect.
So many people don't have a great understanding of what a commissioner role is.
There you go.
I wouldn't want them to think I'm a law enforcement officer.
Totally cool. So I've got Paul. Let me get the names real quick. So Paul and Mike. No, not Mike. Ann Romick.
Big Mike.
Big.
I did want to add, I do have a merchandise company, so I'll be happy to donate T-shirts.
We
and
can figure all that
anything
out.
you guys
So
need.
I got to do the
Slippers.
awkward thing now because I have to ask for exactly. I have to ask for sizes because I can't do it privately because that would be a violation of the Brown Act.
Well,
I think
what we can do, sorry, Sherry, is we can actually ask Ms. Nakamura
Can she do that?
to do the logistics
Perfect.
of
Perfect.
reaching out to
Okay.
everybody.
Let me get to the other point real quick that I was going to make.
I would like to get it worded,
Sure.
please.
Just one.
I have seen Burbank police commissioners get in trouble with things that identify them as being a Burbank police commissioner. They have been given, I think in past they were even given like a badge. They've been given shirts. I don't think we should be wearing anything unless we're authorized by the city council.
So there's no rule on whether or not you can wear or carry things that identify you as a police commissioner. In the past, commissioners were given business cards that identified them as commissioners. And there were some people who were using the business cards in a way that was not ideal. It was not for purposes of promoting the police commission and trying to engage the community, but it was really for self-advantaged reasons, right? Getting out of a parking ticket or getting free coffee, if you will. So personally, I don't have an issue. There's no legal issue involved with you in some way identifying yourselves as police commissioner. And we're talking about it right now because through the eyes of community engagement, to make yourselves identifiable so that the community will feel free to come up to you and talk to you about issues related to the police commission. What you would have to be very mindful of is that you don't then take that item and then use it for personal reasons outside of what you need to do here for the commission. And that's self-policing. Not everybody can do that very well, but you have to be mindful of that. And with that in mind, I don't think that there is any issue with you identifying yourselves as police commissioners.
So that, go ahead. I was going to say that actually leads into the next item, but Paul, do you want to respond to that first?
Well, there's a hole in the top of your Burbank Police Commission ID, your city ID, that it's designed to have a clip on it. And I think when we're at Coffee with a Cop, when we're at National Night Out, I think I don't want to say should be obligated, but I think we should be wearing those because otherwise we are just another person getting a free cup of coffee or trying to get a cup of coffee there. So we think, I like the idea of the shirts. I think they're a little more professional, But I do think that we should take advantage of the tools that the city has already given us and wear that ID if we're in that role.
So that actually brings me to the second piece. And so this is, there's got to be a comfort level. I actually, Narbe, I really appreciate your comments about that because that's real, what you're talking about. And there are real, I want to be honest, there are real dangers about identifying ourselves publicly. So we have to do it in a way that we're comfortable with, that we feel safe, that we can take responsibility for. Here's the tricky one. And Ann, you started to go there, and I was talking about the cell phone. Social media. So I did something for the first time today. I saw something on Reddit where there were some comments in preparation for tonight's public comment period and the hearing earlier, the public meeting around the military equipment report. And I found myself responding, and there were a lot of really angry people, and I found myself responding. And it's the first time I've ever done that because I'm not interested in getting in a fight with somebody online. I have to take that responsibility, though. I put that out there because I don't. It's real easy to get into some messy stuff in social media, but I think we're talking about needing to meet people where they're at. We have to do the commission meeting because of the way commissions and councils are structured. There's legal requirements. We have an attorney here for that and everything. But if people aren't showing up here, we have structure here that people may not be interested in. Those conversations that we're interested in being involved in may be taking place on various different social media platforms. And so I'm going to raise it because I have to take responsibility for what I do online, but I'm going to raise it because that may be one of the places where we need to consider engaging people around issues related to the Burbank Police Department and the Police Commission. If we're not getting people in the room, it's about meeting people where they're at.
Yeah, and I love that you said that because you can just suggest, let everyone know that there is a platform that they do have that they can come and share their comments and concerns. So I love that. Mike?
I would like to suggest that there's events that take place in the city which have no connection to the police department. And maybe we can also attend those events and have a table set up. You go to the Starlight Bowl when there was a Starlight Bowl. And the animal shelter will be there with pets to adopt. You would go to some of the events for Parks and Recreation, and there were other departments. Public Works was there, Burbank Water and Power. We should be attending multiple Burbank events which are not connected to the PD.
And one thing that we can also do to kind of control the false perception of if you do have T-shirts is we do it at these events, so that just kind of eliminates us walking around the gym and, but yeah.
Like the Burbank Rose Float.
There you go. Gina?
I have to go to the Rose Float one of these days because Commissioner Coombs is always
worked.
inviting us to
It's
the
fun.
Rose
I've been
Float,
there.
right?
I think there's ways to, I don't go up to people and just say, hey, but there's ways to weasel it in. And I think that the float is a great opportunity. If you park next to somebody, this is me, I park next to somebody and they, you just engage. You're like, boy, how about that traffic? Oh, it's so, yeah, what do you think? If you have concern, I've done that. I'm a talker. But there's ways to, I think, be subtle and protective. And we can come up with a lot of those at our next opportunity to share.
Absolutely. And worst comes to worst, if you guys have seen Instagram lately, we can invite Officer Parks to do a little meet and greet.
You know what? That social media, reverse social media, I'm sorry, if we knew that he was going to come with his dog, there'd be a line. There would be and if you're listening, anybody.
I think this is where you need to reel in.
We got to reel it back in. We got to reel it back in.
So I would like to say, I love the discussion. There are some legal concerns with some of the things that you've suggested. Unfortunately, in this day and age, probably the best way to reach people, something like social media, is one of the most dangerous ways for us. Yeah. And just remember, you haven't really made any kind of motion or made any decisions. This is a good discussion. If you are on social media and you are responding to people, remember that you are doing it as an individual, and so you do not want to give anybody the impression that you are speaking on behalf of the commission, because as a commission, you have to act as one, which means you've voted and you've decided. When you're just responding individually, even though you are a commissioner, I recommend that you make sure that you don't give any kind of impression that you're speaking on behalf of the body, right? If you are also engaging in social media on your personal devices, I believe Ray Joe Hall gave you the training on public records. If you do not intend to turn your phone into something that is going to be subject to a public records inquiry, then you want to be careful about using your own personal social media and not turning it into a public social media, right? So if you have any questions, as the lovely discussion support document said, I am always available for consultation, advice. My email is really easy. I have literally, my last name is 2 letters, right? And so very easy to reach me on email. Ask the question first. It's better for us to have a discussion than to try to fix something after it gets kind of screwed up, right? So, like I said, I really love the discussion. I don't know if you're going to make any kind of vote for a particular action or if this is just discussion, but just be mindful of some of the legal
Absolutely.
parameters.
What I was thinking was, is there anything that we want to prioritize and make like recommendations for where we can highlight or bold and we can put like a subline that says that we would recommend anyone new to the commission to attend either NACOL or Police and Fire Day? Is there anything that we want to do along the lines of that? Want to prioritize anything?
I'll piggyback on something James brought up earlier when you were trying to correct the use of the word audit a few months ago. I like ride-alongs with patrol officers, but I think just any sort of exposure to
the
the
police
police department,
Sure.
not necessarily even sitting on a training, but even just going to a roll call meeting, I think shows, like especially new commissioner, a lot about how the department functions. You get to have a lot of face time with individual officers. You get to introduce yourself as a commissioner and kind of build some of that trust that the chief was talking about earlier. I think things like that are a great opportunity, you know, exposure to the department through their, you know, whether we're just sitting in or I like the term used about getting a flavor of.
Yeah.
I think it's a great way to develop our understanding as well as build the familiarity of the department with us as individual commissioners.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Norbert. Anyone else?
I had a thought, it went away.
It's okay. So what I have is, so what I was thinking is, you know, this is something that I can type back up and provide to Sherry, because do we take a vote on this or anything? Because like if you want to have this a part of like part of a packet where we can just provide someone with
The thought came back.
Okay.
Thank you. In alignment with what I was saying earlier about we need to do stuff that we're comfortable with, I would encourage commissioners to get involved in these things and more. I would be uncomfortable with prescribing that commissioners do everything that's on the list.
No. I mean, yeah.
I just want to lift
Are there
lift that
specific
up.
items that you would recommend though?
Well, I think I'd recommend all of them, but I wouldn't obligate anybody to any of them.
So I guess my question is, what's the purpose of the document? Is this something that you wanted to include in the orientation packet, if you will, just to give information to a new commissioner or existing commissioners about different options of events that are out there?
It's an overview of what we're actively involved in throughout the year. And again, yes, I think that would be a great idea to include it in the orientation packet. What someone who's coming on the commission will know what events that we partake in.
Or maybe I can ask it this way. So the document is, you know, it's got good ideas, so it is something that can easily be included. I guess for the agenda item tonight, which was discussion and recommendation on strengthening and refining the commission's community engagement.
Right. And we came up with, you know, some of the items is exposing more, well, community engagement. Now, you're right, the exposure to the police department is not technically that. Go ahead.
If I may, this list actually functions as a summary of things that we've been doing.
Yeah.
So I think for our discussion, I think it works towards that end. I don't know if I'd use it as a prescription for what we expect everybody to be doing.
Sure. So it can just be a list of events that we can just provide a sheet, orientation sheet, this is what we usually engaged in, you get to decide what you want to be a part of. Okay. Does that make sense? Cool. Any other questions, comments, concerns?
Brief one. When we're talking about engagement, from the things that are going here, it's sort of advocacy, which is great. But engagement seems like it's a handshake to some member of the community. What can we do for you? What can you do for me? It's a back and forth. I wonder if we could list some things that we provide for the community in the list here.
Okay. What would you
I'm
suggest?
not saying to do that right now, but
Okay.
when we come back to it,
Okay, so we can come back to this document.
Like where we have tables and things like that, provided water, police, and fire day. Yes, absolutely.
Okay. And then what we can do is, I'm assuming when an event's coming up, we can agendize that conversation about that event and how we want to be publicly involved, correct?
Yes, because don't forget, if a majority of you attend an event that is a police commission event, and the discussion will be items related to what you do here, it has to be agendized. That's a meeting, right?
Yeah.
And so it might be, if you know there's something coming up, we talk about who amongst you will attend, so that if we can't agendize it, or whether or not there's an exception that would allow the majority of you to attend. For example, if it's a social event, and then you just have to be really careful you don't talk about police commission topics at it. But because we have to thread that needle sometimes, it might be that, again, you guys vote amongst yourselves about who would attend different functions so that we don't run afoul of those roles. I do want to say that beyond the list that was originally here, you did talk about other things, such as the Burbank Police Foundation, attending non-police related events, the close, identifying yourselves as commissioners. So, again, I'm trying to think what
Yeah,
we do,
here's-
what we're doing tonight with that, all those
If we were
things.
attending events where there's possible Brown Act violation, that means we're talking with each other and not the community. So if three of us are at an event, we should not be engaging with each other. We should be engaging with others as the maximum face time or maximum exposure for what we're there to do.
Yeah. Well, if three of you are there, you're okay. But if four of you are there, what I found, we had an event when the chief first came on. I think it was like a police and fire event. It was so hot, but I went to meet the chief. And I find sometimes if you set up a booth, what happens is you may be talking to one person and the commissioner next to you is talking to somebody else, but you're so close together that everybody is talking to each other. So again, just practical considerations about how we help ourselves. We don't put ourselves in a position where we're going to inadvertently violate the Brown Act. So just, positioning ourselves in the best way possible. But perhaps what we can do with this list is, just like we're going to come back for discussion on item number 2, we can clean up this list and then bring it back to the meeting where we talk about item number 2. And then if it looks good, it might be something that you guys can, again, vote on to include in the orientation packet, et cetera.
And so what I also did, thank you, Gina, for that, also did is kind of look at what we've done outside the chamber walls. I mean, we were involved with a driver safety campaign that kind of gave the police commission exposure. Like when we kicked it off when we kicked off the whole driver safety campaign, Community Chevrolet, we had about 70 people show up. And then the chief spoke, the mayor spoke, council spoke, and I think that cross-collaboration also with organizations all throughout the community and building that bridge between, the commission and the organizations, like Boys and Girls Club was very welcoming for us when we did our workshop. And from what I understood at that point, it was the first time that Glendale and Burbank PD did a workshop together in the city of Burbank at Boys and Girls Club, talking about driver safety, and there was about 40, 50 people in the audience, a lot of families asking wonderful questions. So it's also not limiting ourselves to just what's here, like Gina said, but also looking at how are we working with other organizations. Like, for example, we worked with the Burbank Water and Power, I think when Chief Albanese was here, about sharing information, Yeah, absolutely. And Mike did a wonderful job of that. So I think also looking at that could be advantageous.
The bike helmet giveaways, things that there's.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then there's always events happening all throughout the community. So attending different events, we can be of service as well. So I think that would help. And anyone that knows me, they know I put myself out there and I'm out in the community with an open heart. Gets me in trouble sometimes, but what's wonderful is that over time, from what we've done with the driver safety campaign and where it is now, it's things that we can discuss later on. But the wonderful thing is that, with the Burbank Police Commission, when I first got on, I felt like no one knew who we were. When I tell people I'm on the Burbank Police Commission, they just kind of looked at me with like deer in the headlights. But when I told them what my role and responsibility was, they're like, oh, we never knew we even had that. So I think it's part of our process too, to educate the community. And like you said earlier, go out there, have those conversations, meet with people, whenever you get the opportunity, whether you're at an event, and just bring it back.
Take this out of the wallet,
Chair,
put it on your lapel.
yeah. Chair Hacobian? I just wanted to lift up, I think we have a time limit
We
of
do,
8 p.m., so you've got like 8 minutes left.
Okay, so I got nothing left. Anyone else want questions, comments, concerns? No? Okay, great. So we're going to go ahead and bring this back for later on. And I just want to thank everyone for that conversation. And next, we're going to move on to the chief's announcements.
Thank you. Only have really one. Academy graduation on March 5th. And we have one in the academy. But what I would like to highlight is we have 12 that are currently in the academy. So one graduating, 12 in the academy. And I know all the commissioners always ask where we are recruitment-wise. So far, trending in the right direction. We're currently at 152, as you are aware, out of 160, and we're doing pretty good.
Is that
Thank you, Chief.
graduation at the police academy here? or
No, this one is going to be at the
County?
Los Angeles Sheriff's Academy
That's a win.
in Whittier, at Whittier Star Center. Well, now that the time is changing, but they had been pretty late, like 5, 6 p.m.
Okay, thank you, Chief. And thank you, everyone, and meeting is adjourned. Oh,
Not
sorry,
yet.
sorry.
Not
Oh, I'm
yet.
so sorry.
Future agenda items?
I know, I'm just moving way too fast. All right, so now we're going to go and move on to future agenda items.
I thought I forwarded an email, but I've heard no response, so I might have screwed it up. Years ago, Ann and I were on a national night out, and she ran into a young man who was wearing a vest that indicated that he was special needs. Kiwanis had their regional convention in Burbank a couple of weeks ago, and they spoke about a new program called the Blue Envelope, Blue Cord. And if someone has special needs in their car, they
Paul,
would.
it has to be just about.
Okay, the
addressing
blue, I would
item.
like to introduce the Blue Envelope, Blue Cord and see if we can have a presentation about something we could hear. It would mean that they would have their driver information in a blue envelope, so when they present to the officer knows. Or if they don't drive, they would have a cord. And it wouldn't necessarily be glowing, but it's something that the officer would recognize, that this person has special needs. And it was something I said that Ann brought up a couple years ago, and I don't know if we followed through on it, but I think this is an opportunity.
Is this something that you're requesting from the department, or?
I think it's something we put on the agenda that maybe we look into, and then maybe the department could either consider it or develop their own. But we have BCR here. I don't know what they call themselves now, so I'll just use the initials. Burbank Community Resources, and we have facilities where we could distribute these things, but it's a way to aid our community members who need assistance.
So do
I'd
you?
like, I'm sorry. I'd like to support you, get you some information, because I know our fax program has
So
their.
we can't have discussions
sorry.
about this?
Can we-
This is
can we
just-
agenda
I can
Agendized.
get you information
Yeah,
and
because I guess I'm really having a hard time with what you're agendizing.
Can I just take
Please.
a crack at it? I'd like to motion. I would like to motion that Paul make a presentation on the Blue Envelope, Blue Cord program to the commission, to the police commission, for further discussion and exploration in the city of Burbank.
Could we amend it to making us aware of other
We can-
ways of identification?
We have a
piece-
motion, so we need a second, then we can
So-
have this.
Okay.
I'll second for discussion.
I hear you on that.
I have a second from
Okay.
Paul.
For just no, that was
For-
second for discussion for Mike, I think, right?
No, I
No.
asked, so you motioned,
I motioned to have the
He
agenda
said-
that Paul do a presentation specifically on this program, and that we can have further discussion.
right, and Paul second. And then now we
Okay.
have to go for a
Now we can
vote.
discuss it.
Oh, no, sorry, now we have to discuss it, and you had an amendment.
This is all new to me. I think it's great. Then Ann brought up another program. So I would like to be aware of all these different programs in one agenda item.
Okay, that can be done in the discussion. So we can, there's also, I don't want to go down that path, but there's also a program that the police department already has as well, and that the department could participate in that discussion as well, along with Ann and any other resources that folks have. But I want to specifically make it an agenda item for you to make a presentation specifically on this program, and then we can have a discussion, which will open up to similar programs.
I'll share that responsibility with Ann.
So if I may ask, I'm just trying to understand how this relates to the police department.
I can help with that. There's a presentation that was done by the police department to the commission a few years ago on specific resources to identify special needs individuals when they make contact at their homes. And Paul is recommending a program in the community and would like to share that with all of us. And we can then we can revisit that conversation that we had a few years ago.
Okay,
But we'll
so
do it in
that-
the context of Paul's presentation.
Right. And so part of the presentation would be discussion with the police department to see if they want to participate in this program?
Correct.
Okay, got it.
Does that help?
Okay,
Yes,
so we
thank
have
you.
a motion with a second, and we can go to vote.
Commissioner Chapman?
Yes.
Commissioner Coons?
Yes.
Vice Chair Elman?
Yes.
Chair Kukovian?
Yes.
Commissioner Hartunian?
Yes.
Commissioner McKenna?
Yes.
Commissioner Wenzel?
Yes.
So motion carries. Any other agenda items anyone wants to introduce?
For what month was that going to be?
Oh, what month do you want that? Because right now, what we have is,
Next month, we're going to have the discussion on the
wasn't here,
the scope of work for the oversight.
oversight, or, correct.
So the 2 months is great. So you want to go,
Do we
March?
So,
April.
oh, so next month is March.
April then, I'm
Right.
sorry.
So we can do April? Okay.
April.
I understand from the chief, the only item that the police department has will be the
OIR.
scope of work. OIR or whatever
Scope of work.
new RFP, because we are going to go out for a request for proposals for a new oversight board body. That is the only thing that is on the agenda for March. So if you wanted to have this discussion about the blue envelope, it can be for March as well. We only have one item right now.
Okay.
It's like, I'm sorry, next motion.
Yeah.
There was a wonderful presentation to the city council by the Burbank Police Department about the new regulations involving e-bikes and helmets and things of that nature. One of the recommendations from Councilmember Vice Mayor Mullins was that the presentation be made to us. The presentation said the first 60 days were going to be education and then enforcement.
Okay.
So if we put it on the agenda for 60 days from now, which would be March,
So what would you like to agenda?
I would like to agendize the program that's already, it's no more work for the police department because it already exists, right, chief? The presentation that was given to the council.
Can you repeat that? He may not have heard that.
Remember the night before the Coffee with the Cop, the presentation that was made about the e-bikes and helmets and bike safety to the city council?
The one that we made, that Lieutenant Barkus made?
Right, yes, sir. And then one of the recommendations was, from the vice mayor, was that the presentation be made to us. Part of that presentation was 60 days of education and then enforcement. In March, the 60 days would be over, it'd be a great time for that presentation.
So we are not, the discussion that has happened offside of that, because that amendment or that muni code has not been adopted yet. And it's actually being moved to later, closer to the end of the year, to give it a full, thorough assessment. So we are not doing a presentation within 60 days. We would not have even sufficient amount of data to do any type of presentation.
I stand corrected, I thought it was passed that night.
No.
We're still on the table with when you're going to have the presentation on the blue envelope.
Oh, I think you said April, right? No, you said March. No, it was March.
No.
Yeah.
March? Yeah. No, April, I apologize, April, you said April.
No, Gina said that the OIR presentation, there's room for your conversation as well.
If you want it in April, we can
Yeah.
do it in April. It's fine. Because you're the one who's going to do the presentation. You need to be ready.
Trying to get the resources to come.
Okay.
Presentation,
Yeah, then perhaps we do that in April if you're going to try to bring
that'd
somebody
be great.
to come in. And then don't forget for the discussion next month, we're going quick, very quickly. The discussion is going to be amongst yourselves. I can help guide the discussion if you have any questions, but there's no presentation from the police department as that is not what they are involved with. It's the city attorney's contract with the oversight body, and so for you, the discussion will be about the scope of work.
Did you use the word oversight?
Now, you're not giving oversight, we are looking for an independent oversight body. So,
Argue with an old
yes.
lawyer.
So that is an appropriate use of the word oversight, because that is exactly what we're looking for.
So any other agenda items before I go? So what I would like to do is I would like to agendize a conversation, coming back with updates on the discussion guide for agenda items, combine that with the community engagement sheet, and I would like to agendize that for April. Motion for that? Second, Narby seconds, and let's go for a vote.
Commissioner Chapman?
Yes.
Commissioner Coombs?
Yes.
Vice Chair Elman?
Yes?
Chair Hakobian?
Yes.
Commissioner Hartunian? Commissioner McKenna?
Aye.
Commissioner Wenzel?
Yes.
Thank you, everyone. So without any further agenda items, I would like to thank everyone for this meeting, and meeting is adjourned.
I apologize.